Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to FutureWorks Alliance Philadelphia, first in a series, Got Tech Training. I'm so excited to kick off this series to feature some of the great tech training programs in our region. We have a great lineup today. My name is Ann Gemmel. I'm the founder of FutureWorks Alliance Philadelphia. FutureWorks is a place for early adopters and people who see that there needs to be collective action to respond to the future of work changes in our economy so that Philadelphia can really leverage all of its talent and connect people to opportunities that are ready for the future, careers that are future ready. I'm very excited to have worked the past year or so to get to this place. I've built relationships over the past several years working in the future of work space and gotten to know some of the leaders who are really have rolled up their sleeves for years now to prepare people for careers in technology. So I'm very excited to introduce, to get to the program today. But first, very thrilled to introduce a woman I most recently met. She's a senior manager of business agility at Accenture. She is truly a see it to be it. We used to talk about in workforce development that more young people, more students, more college kids, career changers, job seekers, they need to quote unquote see it to be it. And when I first talked to Sandra, we talked for over an hour about her journey and the obstacles she's overcome and the triumphs she's experienced in her winding career. So I'm really excited to introduce to you today a cheerleader for change, a lover of legacy code, and business agility senior manager at Accenture. Sandra Behrens is going to kick it off today with a few remarks about her story. Sandra, take it away.
Thanks, Anne. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to start late 80s, early 90s, where I was working several service industry jobs and taking care of a toddler. And by happenstance, I ran into an old professor of mine who had encouraged me to take a test for a workforce development program that was going to spin up for the state of New Jersey. I wasn't quite sure because it would mean leaving these jobs. And as I said, I had someone that I was taking care of. And I took the test. The test was administered to over 1,000 people throughout the state of New Jersey. 25 people were offered positions in training. And of those 25 people, I was one of the 10 that were fortunate enough to have a full-time job with the state of New Jersey as a COBOL developer. That was quite a long time ago. And in those years that are following, I had the opportunity to take my skills and use them to work at places such as Publishers Clearinghouse. Yes, they do give away money. That is all real. ADP, Dow Jones, where I was responsible for the Y2K conversion of accounts receivable. I also moved to a small software house, which was eventually purchased by IBM. I worked there until I was laid off. And then I ended up having to struggle to find a role because COBOL programmers weren't in demand as much after Y2K. I did find another role for a place called Transcontinental Direct, junk mail you ask for. And then I moved to Accenture, and that began part 2 of my story. I've been at Accenture for about 15 years. I started as a systems analyst, which would be like the equivalent of a first consultant. And in these 15 years, I've extended up to the ranks where now I'm a senior manager and I am now pursuing MD. If someone would have told me way back when I was sitting in my cube coding, that I would be in the running for an incredible title, an incredible job at an incredible company, I would have probably looked at them sideways. part of the reason why was I never saw the representation. I didn't see anyone who looked like me ascending in any of these places and spaces. So that's part of the reason why I think workforce development is so important. Two things. Number one, it gives the opportunity for people to make inroads in meaningful ways and change lives. And, as I said, I was working 3 service industry jobs. It was the state of New Jersey, so I could drop 2 of them. But this still gave me the opportunity to start building a life, right? The second thing is that technology is changing very, very quickly. And without programs like this, we have a real, there's a real threat of leaving, or not just threat, it's happening now. The digital divide becomes wider and we're leaving more and more people behind. Are there biases in technology? Yeah, it's getting better. I mean, for a very, very long time, I was the only person who looked like me in places and spaces. But I'm happy to report that it's getting a little better. But with workforce development programs such as this, or such as like Tech Impact, or the other PS speakers that we are going to be talking about today, that opportunity to have a more inclusive, more diverse workforce is just going to be big. Having a diverse workforce gives people the opportunity to have diversity of thought, leading to better solutions, better outcomes for businesses. It's a win-win. So one of the things that I also do is that I sit on the board of Tech Impact, and I am also a mentor. Reason being is that I am very much about rising tide lifts all boats. Anybody that I can help and bring forward is just, it means a lot to me, because when I first started, it was just about the training, the coding, and nothing about, how do you navigate tough situations? How do you work with people who are a little difficult? So having that soft skills component has been so important, along with understanding your chops, what you're there to do. So in summation, I would ask that you just really lean into what our panelists have to say. I hope this is going to be a really, really great session, and my contact information will be following later. And so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are. We have time to take some questions from the group, but I have a question for you to warm everyone up. Can you tell us a little bit about your daily habit? How does your day start? How do you unwind? How dense is the grind is basically what I'm trying to ask.
I think you said it right the first time. How bad? No, actually, no. It depends. Because we are now all remote, it's a lot different. So I get to sleep a lot more than I used to. And because I get to just come to my desk. My days start somewhere between 7 and 7:30. And I usually am picking up around 5:30. One of the things I like about what I do is that no 2 days are the same, right? There may be some days that are very, very meeting heavy, and there are some days that are very solution heavy. Mm-hmm. And so it gives me balance, and it gives me the ability to exercise the brain a bit.
Nice. Thank you for that. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I'm going to ask one more, and maybe an audience member will get brave. I'm curious about agility. I think that work from home has introduced, more agility in our lives, but I want to know a little bit more for the audience. When we see in your title, business agility, what exactly does that mean in terms of what you're advising? And could you just explain that a little bit for the listeners?
Sure can. What that means is, how do you get the most important things out first, right? Mm-hmm. Not everything's important, and understanding how to prioritize things is just basically the name of the game. So what I do is work with our clients to reorganize their work and sometimes their teams around the things that are important and valuable so that they can get them into their customers' hands more quickly.
Great. So that's about prioritizing instead of waiting for just a sequential.
Right. Instead of releasing everything at one time, like when I first started my career, you worked on something for 6 or 8 months and then you released everything at the same time. Now we try to release things in smaller increments and test and adapt to say, are we on the right track? Does this make sense? If it does, then we can continue on. If it doesn't, then we try something new.
All right, that's so smart. I think it's so important in this age of rapid digital transformation, because in 6 to 8 months, something could literally be disrupted that quickly by a competitor.
That is correct.
Thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last words to share before we head into the program pitches? I guess they are. We're going to start off with launch code soon, but last word for us?
Sure. I would say if you don't have a mentor, I would say get one and create your own board of directors.
That is great advice. I love that. Great. Create your own board of directors. That is an entrepreneurial mindset if I've ever heard one. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Next up, we have a voice coming to us for this program from St. Louis, which is where Launch Code began their story. And I don't want to take the story because this is a good one, but I am excited to introduce Jessie Wilcox, who is the Vice President of Impact from Launch Code. Jessie, take it away.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for having us. I'm excited to get the opportunity to talk to y'all about the amazing work that I get to do at Launch Code, and I'm excited that we're bringing it to Philly. So like she said, my name is Jessie. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as the interim VP at Impact at Launch Code. And before we get into like more about what Launch Code does, I want to just take a minute to talk about the history of Launch Code and how we started. So like she mentioned, we're headquartered here out of St. Louis. We're expanding to the Philadelphia area. But for people who may not know, we are founded by Jim McKelvey. Jim McKelvey is a St. Louis native, along with Jack Dorsey, who was his co-founder for Square. You've seen Square if you're out, especially at local small businesses, the little card readers, the usually white or black, that a lot of entrepreneurs use to process payments at their companies. Originally, they wanted to start Square here in St. Louis. What they found was that they were having trouble finding the tech talent they needed to fill the roles and really build out their team. When they did find the tech talent, they felt like they were just poaching talent from other tech companies within the area. So they made the decision to move Square out to the West Coast. But like all good tech inventions, Jim McKelvey is a problem solver. And so he came back to solve for that problem. And that is how he came up with the mission and the idea of Launch Code. Our mission here at Launch Code is to build a skilled workforce by creating pathways for driven people seeking careers in technology. What I love about our mission and what I preach nonstop about our mission is that truly at the core of it, it capitalizes on the tech talent gap to provide pathways to economic opportunity for members of our community. And so what do we do? I said we provide pathways to economic opportunity, but really like how and what does that mean? There are kind of two sides to what we do at Launch Code. On one hand, we have our education programs. That's where we provide free technical training to members in the community, hoping to move into tech careers or get their first job in tech. That's where you really build the skills, right? And then we have our apprenticeship program. This is where after people learn from us or after people have learned in other places, we help them find their first job in tech. It's a model in which we use to de-risk the hiring for both employers, but also for apprentices, right? It's kind of a trial and test period for both parties involved. Since our founding, we've helped launch over 2,400 careers in tech to date. That means not only people who we've helped to place through our apprenticeship program, but we also have had a number of people go through our education programs and find jobs on their own. And personal preference, those are sometimes my favorite stories because to me, it speaks to the fact that providing free technical education and training works, right? When an employer is willing to hire someone without even using launch code as a medium, that means it's working. And so what programs are we bringing to the Philadelphia area to start? We have our Discovery program, our LC 101 and Liftoff program, and our apprenticeship program, all of which are free to members of our community and students. A little bit about Discovery, and the link is here on the slide. Discovery is for the person who's like, oh, I keep hearing these things about tech. I don't really know what that means, or if I want to pursue a tech career, I would direct you to Discovery. That's how you can find out what it means to pursue tech or computer programming and what it could mean to have a career in tech. LC 101, our first class in Philadelphia is kicking off June 10th. We had a record number in Philly, record because it's the first, of over 800 applications for up to 150 to 200 seats in our class. We were able to admit up to 200 students, and those students will get started on June 10th, and we're really excited for them. A little bit of information about LC 101 and our model for LC 101 at its core. It's a 25-week part-time free again program in which we provide people with the job readiness skills that they need to enter web development careers. Our classes are a combination of self-study and real-time live classes, right? So people are expected to show up for class twice a week in the evening. Those are 3-hour class sessions. And then we also tell our students to expect to commit 15 hours a week outside of that class time, right? So it's really kind of a flipped classroom model. We believe the biggest skill that people take away out of our courses is learning how to learn, right? And so we can't do it all for you. We have an amazing course staff to like support people through their learning journeys. But we know that when someone completes one of our courses, we tell employers, none of our launch coders have the same pathway or background, but what we can tell you is that we promise they all have passion, drive, and aptitude. And that's proven through the fact that they finished our program and curriculum and are ready to enter careers to hit the ground running from day one. And so what do we teach in our courses? Like I said, we build people up to web development careers. And so what we're bringing to the Philadelphia area, students will walk away with JavaScript and Angular skills, as well as C# and .NET or Java and Spring skills. And how do our classes work? So like I said, what all makes up that, almost 20 hours a week when joining our courses, students are expected to come to class ready. They have done reading, they have done concept checks. We use the class time to build on the prep work that they've done for the class. And we have larger projects throughout the cohort that students complete to demonstrate that they've learned the concepts taught over the lessons of the previous weeks. Each student is assigned to it sounds like a lot, right? I think I mentioned we have cohorts of up to 150 to 200 students, but we still value that smaller group setting and learning, right? So each student is put in a group of up to 12 students, what we call our TA or TF groups. And so that's like really your true core learning community in addition to the rest of the class. And so a little bit more about the details. I already mentioned our classes are part-time. That's intentional, right? As you can see, we kind of believe in the mass education approach to education. And so we use part-time classes because there are just a number of people who can't necessarily afford to leave their jobs and pursue full-time education. So our choice to offer part-time classes is intentional. Students can expect to start building their network within our classes, right? We recognize that there's a lot more that goes into getting a job in tech than just the learning that students are going to be doing with us. So students are instructed by someone who's working in the field. Students, TAs or TFs, the people who lead those smaller groups, they're either a graduate of a launch code program or there's somebody who's doing the job, right? That students are aiming to get to, so they can add color and context to the experience and what students are going through in class. And that means students are building their networks from day one. Not only do they start to build networks with the people who are giving up their time to pull up the next person, right? But students also start to see each other as colleagues. But we know that, like I said, that's not always enough. A big criticism you'll hear about education programs, particularly the bootcamp model, right, is that they're not readying students for the actual like workforce to hit the job running, to building in skills that people need to even get the job. We do that too. After somebody completes our LC 101 program, they move into our liftoff program. That's where they're going to complete group project work, right? Get the chance to work within a team, get the chance to put the skills that they're building to use through projects that they build from scratch. That's where they complete career readiness modules. We help prep you for the job hunt experience. People do behavioral interview prep, technical interview prep, and they have to get resumes approved. And all of that is with the goal of moving people into our apprenticeship program. What's great about us being new to the Philly area is that we can try out new tactics, right? And so as people move into apprenticeships through us in the Philly area, we're challenging all of our employers to start people at a minimum wage of $25 an hour, and all of our apprentices will be provided with health benefits. And the goal at the end of that apprenticeship period is that apprentices are converted into full-time, full salaried employees, right? We see a large number of our apprentices double their salary after going through their programs with us. But if you remember when I got started with this at the beginning, we do also help people who have learned in other places, right? There are boot camps that may not necessarily prepare students fully for the job hunt process. There are people who may still just struggle trying to find a job. And so people are also able to apply directly to our apprenticeship program. And basically what we're looking for in applicants to our apprenticeship program is all the requirements we would expect our students to have, right? We value skills over credentials. And so whether you're coming to us from another boot camp because you learned on your own, or through a CS program, we still expect you to meet certain like standards, right? Before we say you are job ready and we put you in front of an employer. And that's because we don't want to set anybody up to fail. We do the work on our end to make sure you're ready to really upskill and start hitting the ground running once you walk onto the on site with the employer on the first day. And a little bit of just quick facts and figures about our apprentices so far. We see a little success with it, right? So typically more than 4 out of 5 of our apprentices are hired on permanently at their employer. 48% are usually unemployed before launch code. And also a large number come from non-CS fields or IT related fields if they hold a 4-year degree. And there's also a percentage of our apprentices who hold no 4-year degree at all. Please, 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 like reach out to us if you're interested at all in what we do. What I tell people all the time is that we can't do it alone. Like Launch Code is here today, all the other organizations are here today because it takes a tech ecosystem. That means the community, that means funders, that means company partners who are willing to really to hire differently, to pursue a new way of hiring, right? It takes accessible education that these organizations can provide through free education, right? Philly has a mission to build the most diverse tech community in the US. It takes the organizations talking to you today to help build those pipelines into those companies. Thank you.
Jesse, you lit up the question and answer section. Thank you for that great presentation. I think you're on mute. Come back off of mute because there's questions for you. Allison will help you with that too. We have, by the way, Slicer Media behind the scenes, like helping us switch people on and off screen. Thank you, Slicer Media. So a couple great questions in the chat. Curtis Palmer, could you come off a mute and ask your question about virtual learning, how virtual learning has affected students and instructors? Curtis, you want to flesh that question out for us? Introduce yourself.
Hey, Curtis.
Hey, and this is Allison from Slicer. It looks like Curtis may have exited the webinar a little bit early.
Okay, so let me go to the next question. Carol DeFries from Carol, can you come on and ask your question?
Hi, Carol.
There she is.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I just wanted to better understand what the qualifications are that you screen for, as is obviously if you have 800 applicants, you're looking
Yeah.
at how to narrow that down. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, what we tell our employers is that all of our students, all the people we're putting in front of you come with passion, drive, and aptitude. We try to build a reflection of that in our application process to our programs. And so we do have an application process. No, to join like our program or apply to our program, you don't need to have a degree of any kind. You don't need to have a high school diploma or anything. And there's not age requirements or anything like that. You just have to complete the full application. And so we have essay questions in which we screen, and we do read all of them to read for those characteristics that I mentioned. So we take the essay portion seriously. And then we have what we call our hack and rank assessment. And that is kind of a logic assessment basically, because we do know, like, we're honest, right? There's like a level of logic and problem solving skills that people need to come with on day one in order to kind of learn this like material at the quick of a pace that we do it in.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Carol, for your question. There's another question we have time for from Wes Somerville. Wes, do you want to come off of mute and talk to Jesse?
Hey, Wes.
Hello. Well, I had a couple questions. One is, I was wondering if the Discovery program would be appropriate for high school students to be able to get a sense of what's out there.
Yes, absolutely. Especially if you think tech or coding could even be of interest to anybody from high school to like any age. Like I said, it's never too late to try to pivot into like a new career, but definitely it's a program that's really designed to help answer the question of, am I really interested in this?
Mm-hmm.
And then my other question was just around what sort of partnerships and supports will Launch Code be needing moving forward in Philadelphia?
Oh my God, everything. Come at us. So we look for community partners, right? There's, like I said, we collected over 800 applications, but that's because of the amazing media partnerships of people who are willing to share our story. That's because of our graduates who are willing to show up to our info sessions to like prove to people that Launch Code is not a scam. We're just free because we care about what's happening. It takes company partners to really opt in and come see what we're doing, sit with our class, sit with our candidates, sit with our learners to learn more about what they're really bringing when they show up on day one, to work with our company program and Keegan, who is the VP in the Philly area, to learn how they can build models to onboard apprentices, right? And then it takes like funding partners. Like we can provide this to the community for free because of our generous donors and because there are employers who want to join us in building a more equitable tech ecosystem.
Thanks, Wes, for your questions, and Jesse, thanks for those answers. I just want to reiterate, that's part of the goal of this series, is to build the relationships among the organization so that it's more about collaboration and less about competition. There is so much need for high quality tech talent, and the beginning of the pipeline needs to be as wide as possible. And geography post-pandemic, geography is going to matter if someone can conveniently get to a class or not. So I think that there's plenty of students to go around, and if we work together to raise awareness around the opportunity here, it's going to be less of a competitive environment and more of a collaborative environment. That's my goal and hope and vision. Thanks, Jesse, so much. We have one last question, and then we'll go to Resilient Coders is up next. Last question, the question from Carolyn. I want to get your name right, Carolyn. I'm so sorry. Hefner. Carolyn Hefner, can you come off of mute and ask your question? Not mute.
Hi, yeah. I just have a question about the type of credential or certification that a student would walk away with after training.
Thanks, Caroline. Great question. Allison, Jesse needs to come off mute.
Thank you, my bad. I'm used to hitting the mute button real quick. I have a dog. He has a chew toy to kind of keep him quiet. So we do not provide certifications when people in our class. You get a certificate of completion, right? But what we're truly measuring for in checking in on when students complete our programs is the skill levels assessed at the end and passing kind of those modules that I mentioned before entering someone into our apprenticeship program. We prove to employers through apprentices when they hit the ground and our employer feedback that it does not necessarily take credentials for someone to fill these entry-level roles. And that's why we're trying to tell employers to hire differently.
So Jess, could you just clarify what tech certificates, like what tech credentials, not a college credential or associate's degree, but are there certain types of languages that Launch Code teaches
That we
or?
teach, right? So like I mentioned, our students kind of walk away with the full stack development skill set. And so on the front end, students are learning JavaScript and Angular in addition to kind of some side technologies like HTML, CSS, TypeScript. And on the back end, students will be learning C# or .NET or Java and Spring. So when someone walks away from our class and is headed into liftoff to really put those skills to use, they're either walking away trying to target themselves as back-end developers, front-end developers, or full stack developers. Or there are people who choose to like gain these skills and then pursue non-coding careers in tech, right? So we also expose people to roles like project management, scrum masters, product owners, and things like that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Great question. Thanks for logging on early. I know the time zone, for Jessie was a little rough, but she's here. She did a great job. Thank you. This segment from Launch Code will be on the FutureWorks Alliance website. But next up, Jess, thanks again. Next up, I'm going to bring Stephanie Castanos from Resilient Coders, also a new arrival to Philadelphia. Stephanie's the Director of Community Engagement from Resilient Coders. I'm going to pass it over quickly to you. Take it away, Stephanie. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, it takes me a little bit of time to get the camera going and everything. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you, everyone. I agree with Sandy, our keynote speaker. I have a board of directors. I have the people who are my cheerleaders, are the people who are critical of, the decisions I'm trying to make. And then I have my mentors who are helping me through my career. So definitely go for the board of directors. And Jessie, learning how to learn, like that's so key. That's something that we start from the beginning of the program. But without further ado, let me hit my presentation so I can share a little bit with you all about Resilient Coders. And all right, I think everybody can see my screen right now. And I'm gonna hit present. All right. So Resilient Coders, my name is Stephanie Castanos. I am the Director of Community Engagement. My pronouns are she, her, hers. We are a workforce development organization. We train young Black, Latinx, and other underrepresented people in tech with software engineering skills. And then we connect our students to job opportunities. Now, our why, for me specifically, and I believe for the founder, and I know for the founder, our executive director, David Delmar, and Leon Noel, who is our managing director and the instructor of the program. All of us were working in tech. And so we saw that there was a lot of people that didn't look like us. And we were there, we were hearing about diversity and inclusion initiatives. We were like hearing about like, yeah, we're gonna hire, Black and brown folks. And then none of the tech companies were actually doing that. And so over the years, we've just been hearing like, let's talk about it. Let's, have a discussion. And so it got to a point that our executive director was like, you know what, let's actually do something about it. He used to work at PayPal. He was a designer. And he decided to start this organization called Resilient Coders. And let me click in here. The other reason why we decided to create the organization was because we saw a lot of our communities of color were being affected by the rapid change of technology. All these jobs, that are being occupied right now by Black and Latinx and just our communities are all been automated. If you think about the last time you went to CVS, Walmart, or Target, any kind of like retail store, most of them already have those self-checkouts, right? If you go to just kind of like I mean, if you go to like any of those stores, like that's already happening, right? So you're already seeing that change. And then recently, over the past few years, Lowe's introduced a robot. And this robot not only helps you find what you need in the store, but they actually track the inventory of the store. So there's no need for those overnight shift people who are there counting what's going on in the store. This robot that Lowe's introduced like probably about 4 years ago literally scans what's going on and like what's left of inventory, which is so wild, right? And then UPS just invested in this company that I have right here, the picture of, and they're introducing self-driving trucks. And they're already, I don't know if you know this, but the #1 job for a Black male is in the transportation system. So it's like driver, any kind of driver. And so that's already like, those jobs are already been eliminated. So not only are we not seeing people have access to these tech jobs, but we're also seeing the jobs that are already available out there for our communities are being automated. And so that's kind of like what Resilient Coders, kind of like what led our founder to start Resilient Coders. So we are a 5-month free bootcamp program. Free is free, no tuition, no debt, no like income sharing agreements, like you have to pay us back after you get a job, none of that. We provide a $500 biweekly stipend. Nobody's gonna get rich off that. But it's something that we hope that it allows you to focus on learning without having to worry about a bill or just something that will help you just stay with us and dedicate those 5 months to our program. We teach full stack development. That means back end and front end. And we can let you borrow a laptop if you need one. Obviously, for the duration of the program, our program is a free program, so we do need those laptops back for the next cohort that comes in. And then we offer job search support, and we also do post-program support. So not only we help you to get a job, but also like even after you're placed, we need to make sure that you are successful in the job. So the eligibility requirements. You do have to have a high school diploma or GED. You need to identify as a person of color between the ages of 18 and 30. We just launched in Philly this year. We've been around in Boston for, I believe it's 5 years now. And then we just expanded to Pittsburgh. So this coming up program that we have, it's gonna start in July through December. And by the way, we have 2 programs per year, one January to May, and then another one from July through December. So this coming up one, we're gonna be launching in Pittsburgh as well. All of our students are from low income backgrounds, and you should be ready and eligible to work in this country. The other thing is like you have to commit. So a lot of our, some of our prospective students, they want to go back to school after finishing our program. Unfortunately, like we need you to start working right away, right? So we're training you to become a software engineer so you can start your new job as a software engineer right away, right? That's our goal as a workforce development organization. And the way to apply is that you have to fill out this form that I'm going to share at the end, but you also have to attend a recruitment hackathon. You can see Rebecca here. This is like a picture she sent me when she was first attending our hackathon. Everything's 100% remote. And so when she, when I asked her like to send me one of the pictures from like her experience at Resilient Coders, she's like, I actually have one from the first time I applied to Resilient Coders. And she was attending our hackathon. She graduated and now she has a job at Liberty Mutual. So just something that it is a requirement for people to come and join our hackathon so they can experience what it's like to be almost like a day in the life of a Resilient Coder. So that all sounds nice, right? Like free, like it's amazing, but here are outcomes. So 2019 and 2020, obviously they're a little bit of different from each other. In 2019, we placed 85% of our graduates. They found a job within 1 month, and then the average salary was $98,000. Obviously, that was not the same results as the pandemic because we all know what happened during 2020, right? And so what we did see was, what happened was that all the employers that had committed to hiring out of resilient coders, they all dropped in April. So me and our executive director and my colleague Lexi, we all work with our employer partners, and we saw that, and we unfortunately, we lost all our partners. And so the May cohort ended up being 83% placement. And so which is lower than traditional, but not so bad. The only thing that changed was that it did take a little bit of time to place them. And then the December cohort, we actually placed 94%. So we did see a shift as the months went by last year. The May salary was for the spring cohort that graduated in May, we saw that the salary was $70,000, which is different than our December grads, which their average salary for them was $92,000. I just wanted to share this because I feel like we can say that we have a great free training program, but if we don't show the results and our outcomes, like we're not doing our job, right? So if you want to learn more about our impact, I put the bit.ly links in there. You can take a look and check out more about us. So the caveat, the program is so intense. It is 100% remote, which means that some students might not be able to get through it. I know I'm going over time, but it's 100% remote. So some students might not be able to be comfortable in that sort of like virtual environment. It is all day, every day for 20 weeks. There is a deadline every week, and so not everybody graduates. And so we do see a big attrition rate for our students, but we're paying you a stipend so you can focus on learning, and we expect a lot of communication for our students. And obviously, this is not just about training people, it's about the big movement. We need to have a lot more Black and Brown voices. We need to train our next leaders. Paris created a company called Black Tech Pipeline, where she has, I don't know if you all heard about Black Tech Twitter, but Paris is a person leading that fight. And so you can check her out, you can follow her on Twitter. Some of our students are climbing up the ladder, becoming part of the hiring committees, becoming tech leaders at all these different companies. So it's obviously not just a bootcamp program. We're thinking about the big picture beyond the bootcamp, right? So we're thinking about a movement of bringing Black and Brown software engineers into these companies and having them become the leaders at these companies. If you're interested in applying, you can follow us on Twitter and you can read a little bit about our student journey. And if you decide that you like what you're hearing and what you're reading, you can apply at bit.ly join RC. You can find the application there. And that's it. You can reach out to me at Stephanie at resilientcoders.org or recruitment@resilientcoders.org.
Stephanie, thank you so much. That was so informative. I love how you just showed the money, right? Get to the bottom line. Those are life-changing statistics. Congratulations on your success to date. I hope you see the same kind of success here in Philadelphia as you launch here and build inroads. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I am curious about I loved, by the way, how you started out with automation of jobs. We do have a lot of training programs that are leading into jobs that may or may not be here 10 years later. And I know 10 years of earning good income is in a commercial driver's license or something is nothing to shirk off. Like that's good income for a whole decade, but working your way towards software engineer is another alternative. And so thank you so much for presenting this pathway. And I don't have any questions because you did a really great job. And I love your also the intentionality around recruitment. You only have diverse cohorts, which I think is what the kind of intentionality that's the kind of focus and mission driven attitude that we're going to need to close the diversity gap in the tech sector. So thank you so much for your time. Question came in to the Q&A, of course, as soon as I called it out. Oh, Madeline Bayless, you want to come off of mute and ask your question? It's a great question.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Again, wonderful program for everyone contributing. And I think, Anne, as we've talked, it does take multiple opportunities for there to be access first and foremost, right? So what I was interested in, I'm always in the continuous improvement mode. What are you learning from your students when you talk about the dropout, what is it that's the greatest challenge that the dropouts have? And do you see that as something that you're addressing to improve the rate of retention?
Yes, that's a great question. Obviously, instability, that's one thing. Housing, access to mental health. Housing is really tough for us to find somebody who might be okay one day and then next month being part of our program and they lost their house for whatever reasons. So I think life situation happens, not communicate and them not communicating what's going on because they don't want to ask for help. So obviously working on that trust is really important for us to build that from the beginning. And also we just partner, obviously we're starting right now in Philly and in Pittsburgh. And so we're hoping to build these partnerships with other community and other organizations that can help us provide these resources to our students. In Boston, we have a partnership with an organization that is all, therapists of color. And so now it's a service that we are able to provide to our students. But obviously, like another thing that is a barrier for us is enrollment benefits. Some of our students don't have health insurance, right? So that's another thing that while we might have an emergency budget that we raise for as a nonprofit, imagine if we were to pay for that for every single student, like our budget will just go on mental health services. So it is important for us to build those kind of relationships with other organizations that can provide this kind of support, especially because the program is very intense. So thank you, Madeline. That was a great question.
Yes, thanks, Madeline. Thanks, Stephanie, for your excellent answer. It's no mistake that the word resilient is literally in the name of your organization. And I think it's a tricky balance to, want to support your students, wraparound services, make sure they make it through, but also keep an eye on mission creep, so it's a tough balance. And it seems like Resilient Coders is trying to always manage that balance. You're doing, from what I can tell, a really good job so far. Thanks so much. I'm going to bring up, thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Can I just share one more thing?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Please.
Perfect. Sorry. I just wanted to share, because we're in Philly right now, right? Technically I'm in Philly. And so we kicked off our pilot program and I have great news to share with everybody. 3 of our Philly students just got job offers on Friday and they just signed them last night. And the average salary for them, so when they start their jobs, they're going to start as $108,000. And when they convert to that job, it's going to go up to $127,000. I just wanted to share that with everybody because we are so proud of our Philly students and we hope that more people can apply to our program now that we're launching over there.
Well, I'm so excited as a lifelong Philadelphian that those Philly students represent so well. Wow. I just got goosebumps at their accomplishment and their job offers, like truly life-changing. It's amazing. Thank you for that last word. Very uplifting. Appreciate you. Thanks. Next up is Tech Impact. The executive director of Tech Impact, Patrick Callahan, has been a friend for a number of years in the work that the Office of Workforce Development did with Future of Work. And when I, decided last summer to launch the Future Works Alliance PHL, I said to Patrick, this is what I'm thinking I want to do. And he was like, I'm not sure I totally get everything about it, but I'm going to be your fiscal sponsor. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. A true believer and also advisory board member. So it's a great pleasure to welcome a longstanding program that's been in our region, in our commuter zone for among other cities for I think over a decade, but I don't want to take your program. So Executive Director of Tech Impact, Patrick Callahan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. Good morning. And I would have let you kept going. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought you were doing a great job. I'll tell you, I would say it's great to see all of you out there this morning, but I can't see any of you, so it wouldn't work. But I did see the list of folks that were on this morning, and a lot of names I know. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening to this. I gotta say, I'm really humbled to share this virtual stage this morning with Sandy Behrens, who's a board member of ours. And you heard her talk so inspirationally, and that's exactly why she's on our board, right? She inspires the youth that we work with constantly, and just keeps us our North Star toward adding more diversity in tech, and really, reaching out and helping the young people that we're serving. Jesse and Stephanie, just fantastic to see these programs come to Philadelphia. Really important work that you folks are doing, and I'm just glad to be part of your ecosystem as well. And I will say, the work Anne's doing, I now that we've been at it for some time, it's incredibly important. I read some reports recently from McKinsey about the future of work, and just how fast things are changing, and the pace that the workforce is changing, meaning what types of jobs are going to be available. And we need to think through those things, as a region, as a society, about how we retrain and prepare people for the jobs that are going to be there, because so many of them are going away, particularly post-pandemic. So that's only accelerated things. So this is all incredible work. I was going to kind of run you through some slides, but I think I will not do that. And I'll just talk briefly about Tech Impact, talk a little briefly about the programs that we run, and keep us back on track. So I know all of you have committed your time this morning, and we want to respect that. So very briefly, Tech Impact is a nonprofit organization, and we're on a mission to use technology to better serve our world. So what does that mean? Well, for us, it means two things, right? One is we provide capacity building services. So we literally help hundreds, really thousands of nonprofit organizations with technology, both helping them to make the right decisions about the investments that they're making, as well as to help them implement and often support that technology. But in context for today, we also do a lot of work in workforce development. So in particular, we run a program that, as Anne said, has been running for over a decade, called IT Works. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. In addition to that, we've launched apprenticeships in the region. We are an apprentice franchise, so we have a number of young people into apprentices right now in all different kinds of fields, everything from data analytics and cybersecurity to IT support professionals, and of course, software development. We also act as an intermediary in some places where we work, meaning that we work hard to recruit young people, assess them, put them into programs, just like you heard about today, as well as our own programs, and then provide some wraparound services to those young people, and then help with the placement services on the back end. It's safe to say we are hyper-focused on adding a diverse tech talent pipeline in the communities where we work. Today, those communities are Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Southern Nevada. So a little bit about our IT Works program. It differs a little bit from my colleagues in that it's not focused on application development or software development. And we have those programs as well, but this one's a little bit different. It's focused, I like to think of IT in two different areas: application development or application software, and then also infrastructure. And this one is very infrastructure related. And it's essentially a 16-week program, and the students that go through the program receive 250 hours of training in IT infrastructure that is leading to a certification, actually two different certifications. One is a CompTIA certification A+, And then the other one is a Cisco certification, IT Essentials. At the end of 11 weeks of classroom, then they go into a 5-week internship, which will then give them hands-on experience with local companies. In addition to that, they receive over 100 hours of professional development training during our Friday sessions. And all of that is through volunteers. So every young person is assigned a mentor from a local business, as well as receiving, basically training in professional sessions, things like time management, helping to develop resumes, cover letters, leadership skills, financial management, all of those kind of areas that are sort of round out the tech education as well. And then for the education itself, the Cisco CompTIA education, they're really learning about PC hardware, troubleshooting, networking, cloud, printer devices, things like that. So really preparing them for an entry-level position into usually an IT support or networking type of job. And these are jobs that are expected to grow between 10% or grow 10% or more until year 2028. So basically a lot faster than other jobs. And the median salary for these jobs were $54,000. So it's not quite your software development job, but it is an excellent job and a very sustainable wage, and also a great career path that goes into networking and cloud support and other areas like cybersecurity and network administrators. So there's a lot of opportunity for folks in this career field as well. So for us at Tech Impact, we're nearing 1,000 graduates of this program. 100% of our graduates have received Cisco IT certifications, and 80% of our graduates are working full-time within 6 months in the field, starting typically $35,000 to $40,000 a year. So again, very, very good jobs. So with that, I'll just say, again, thank you for taking the time to learn about these programs. The one thing I would encourage everyone to think about is how can you help support that, whether it's mentor a young person, provide an internship, think about apprenticeship, which is, a fairly new concept for these types of careers, but critically important. And to support these programs that are really changing the lives. And I've seen that firsthand, in our more than decade of work here. I mean, so many of our young people have just gone on to incredible careers in technology. And I'll have to say it's an area, maybe not the one area, but it's certainly an area where once you get your foot in the door and you're working with a corporation, the pedigree issue seems to go away. No one really cares if you went to school or where you went to school. What they really care about is what value are they adding to your business. And these folks are incredibly motivated, incredibly talented, and will add value to your business if given the opportunity. So with that, I'll stop there. I know we're at time, and I'll just see if there happens to be any questions that I can answer.
Patrick, thank you so much. I really appreciate your words and all of the options that people can explore at Tech Impact. I have one question. Could you talk a little bit about the locations and the virtual, like what are your plans? None of the presentations really talked about that. And I think it's important for the audience to understand the pivot to virtual, and then also like the plans for person-to-person post-pandemic, in-person classroom post-pandemic, and the locations.
Yeah, great question. So obviously, we like to teach our classes in person. We think that's really critical component to working with young people. So unfortunately, we have not been able to do that in the last year. Everything's been remote. And in fact, now we're sort of building out a learning management system that will catalog all of our programs so that we can continue to do it remotely. Having said that, I'm really passionate about bringing the classes back in person, and we plan to, at this point in time, do that this fall with our classes starting in August. I mean, it's just critical to, again, these programs, we're talking about providing economic mobility. We're talking about providing wealth building, which help, put more diversity in technology, which is terribly underrepresented. I mean, they're just really great programs. And again, I just want to say thank you for highlighting these, Ann, and thank you for bringing this to the community.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thanks for that shout out. I appreciate this time that you gave us today. And of course, all of these organizations have websites, and you can, the locations of the actual classrooms are in flux. I know that the pandemic introduced a lot of churn in different leases and different, but it's clear to me that the leadership of each of these programs and organizations is very mindful of removing barriers so that people can get to the classes easily and succeed, get them the support into a whole other life and a level of opportunity that would not have been possible otherwise. So in closing, I just wanted to present this. I encourage all of the attendees and the people who are watching this video to dive more deeply into each of these organizations, ask questions. These are very open and welcoming people that we had here today, as you can clearly see. And, we're very happy that you attended today. In closing, I do need to plug FutureWorks Alliance Philadelphia. We are 70% of our way to our goal for founding membership. We're looking to get 76 founding members before July, which, by the way, the next of our series will be July 22nd. So you can reach me or anyone else at FutureWorks Alliance on all of our social media channels. We have one question before we close it out. Wes, do you want to come on and ask your question? Was that for me? Yeah, I'm happy to take that question. Wes, if you want to come on and ask your question. Sorry, I didn't see that till now.
That's okay. I was just gonna, the question is basically just to compare and contrast for you and or any of the other participants, Philadelphia ecosystem compared to other sites, as far as these tech pipelines go.
So the just generally in my experience from a policy and systems perspective, we were named one of the most diverse, tech ecosystems. That said, we are smaller and we're growing more slowly than many other areas. And I think that is one of the problems FutureWorks Alliance is working to mitigate by fostering a greater sense of collaboration and greater system awareness among, for the public, like really trying to collaborate and coordinate about the options that are there, because there is a little bit of, sense of fragmentation and disjointed efforts over the years from various leadership levels. So there's a lot of good momentum, and I think the pandemic has really caused some folks to think more about the importance of collaboration. There's some good efforts underway, but we are growing more slowly. I think that Philadelphia has much more potential than what we're seeing, but no less talent, right? We have a lot of potential as a city. We have a lot of human potential and the individual level, a lot of talent that I think goes untapped and undeveloped. And some of that is on the backs of leadership and systems leaders to coordinate better and create better awareness about where to access opportunity, what are the top quality tech training programs in the region. So that's part of the goal for this whole series. And, I appreciate that question, but we are nowhere near Seattle, Boston, Silicon Valley, or even Austin, but there's no reason we couldn't be there. So I hope that answered your question. So in closing, thanks, Wes, I appreciate that. So in closing, the next of the series will be July 22nd at Venture Cafe at 3:30. We hope that will be in person, so we'll all get to meet one another. And again, it will be recorded, and this will live on the FutureWorks Alliance PHL website. You can reach out to us if you're interested in supporting the work of collaborating and bringing folks together, supporting FutureWorks PHL work. Join as a founding member. You can always make a donation or just share and like the work that we're doing. Thank you everyone so much for being with us today. I appreciate all of your attendee questions and the lively chat and Q&A. Spread the word about the next one in the series and have a great day. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much.